Hey everyone, today I'm diving into one of those overlooked but seriously important corners of politics, how the Congressional Budget Office or CBO actually shapes the debate on massive laws like Obamacare and the Trump tax cuts. If you care about where your tax dollars go, this one's for you. Alright, picture this. A Texas congressman, Keith Self, is grilling the CBO director on Capitol Hill. His main worry? The national debt and whether the CBO's projections are really as nonpartisan and reliable as they claim. And honestly, who can blame him? These numbers drive policies that impact every single American. So, let's get into the controversy. First up, the Affordable Care Act. Back when it passed, the CBO projected it would actually reduce the deficit by $613 billion. But once all was said and done, the real cost was over $1.5 trillion. That's a massive gap, enough to make anyone question those official estimates. Now, fast forward to 2017 and the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the big Trump tax cuts. The CBO said that would hike the deficit by $1.4 trillion. But then, something surprising happened. Federal revenues actually went up in 2018 and 2019, so naturally people started asking, was the CBO just plain wrong? Keith Self went straight for it. He accused the CBO of being a little too rosy with numbers for bills it liked, and maybe a bit too gloomy with the ones it didn't. But here's where it gets interesting. The CBO director pushed back hard. He called the analysis remarkably accurate and said critics were getting their facts wrong. He explained that, in 2018 and 2019 they were a little over-optimistic on growth because tariffs shuffled things around. But overall, their estimates were 99.8% accurate. That's nearly spot on. And after 2020, all bets were off. Pandemic, inflation, crazy Fed moves, even immigration surges. But pre-pandemic the projections actually held up, and that's the real heart of the debate. This isn't just about number crunching, it's about trust. When you hear politicians argue about a new bill, remember, these estimates can be off, but sometimes they're closer to the mark than we think. So, next time you see a headline about a $1 trillion bill, pause for a second. Ask yourself, who's making the projections and how accurate have they really been? Alright guys, that's the breakdown. If you learned something new, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the politics and economics that actually affect you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
And friend from Texas, Mr. Keith Self.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everyone giving you kudos, but I have a vested interest in your decision, and if I could veto it, I would. But I cannot. As you heard, Director, I am not a member of this committee. I'm here because of our $38 trillion in debt, and I just heard a staggering figure of $60 trillion from you over time. Look, we need to get a handle on this, and we cannot do it unless we get good estimates from you as to what the impacts of our policies. You were designed to be a nonpartisan resource. We have history of two major bills that I want to directly compare. So I want to look at the nonpartisan costing estimates. The scoring that CBO delivered to Congress showed that the ACA Obamacare bill was projected to result in a $613 billion reduction in deficits. We certainly didn't save, and it's cost upwards of $1.5 trillion over the time. We heard of lower premiums and reducing the debt. Obviously, that was optimistic scoring. Now we go to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. You estimated a $1.4 trillion increase in deficits. You showed a decrease in revenues in your estimate. But as you just said to the gentlelady, we'll just take 2 years, we saw record revenues up 4% in 2018 and 2019. So I think you underestimated the growth. Now, it seems to me like you, CBO, are optimistic when you like the bill, and you're pessimistic when you don't like the bill. Look, federal revenues have been consistently 17% of GDP for the last 40 years. Tax cuts, tax increases, tax cuts, tax increases, 17% over the last 40 years. It's been remarkably consistent. So with your projections of the TCJA, We should have had a recession. It didn't happen until COVID dropped. Let's all recognize that. So my question to you is, these are two major bills that we now have history with, we have years of history with, that show that CBO was remarkably optimistic about one bill, remarkably pessimistic about the other bill. How do we rely on your estimates? Because we have to understand the impacts of the policies, the laws that we are making on Americans. How do we trust CBO?
Okay, no, very good. I'll be very straightforward here. Our analysis of TCJA was remarkably accurate. So whoever gave you the information to the contrary has misled you. And if you'll allow me, I'll explain why. So
I have the charts, by the way, for both of them. CBO, these are your estimates that were given to Congress.
Okay, so I'll give you a presentation that I did recently on this. In 2018 and 2019.
No, Director, I want you to address your initial estimates, why
That's what I'm doing.
over history they were wrong.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So in 2018, and I know it's 90 seconds here. I'm happy to stay as long as you want and tell you afterwards, because I'm telling you on TCJA, the truth is the opposite of what you're saying. So I know it's not intentional. It's not intentional.
Shall I go to the chart? Impact on deficit. 2018 to 2027. This is from CBO.gov, System Files, 115th Congress.
Absolutely. And so that's what I will explain to you.
$1,436 billion.
If you are willing to sit and go through it, I will sit for as long as you want. I'm telling you what the information you've been given is completely misleading, and I'm happy to explain it to you. So in 2018 and 2019, CBO was over-optimistic on growth, likely because the tariffs put in place in the middle of 2018 pushed some of the growth from 2018 into 2019. So growth eventually got there to catch up to our projections. We were over-optimistic on growth. On revenues, we were very slightly over-optimistic on growth. Again, the opposite of the information you've been given, but our accuracy was like 99.8%. The 2020, of course, is the pandemic, so that, no one expects that. 2021, we had very high inflation, and then a surge of immigration. We had extraordinary policy from the Federal Reserve. All those things fed into revenues, and that's why revenues were off. After the pandemic, the signals were mixed. 2018 and 2019, when we had a clear view, CBO's estimates of the effects of TCJA were remarkably accurate. And if anything, we were overly optimistic. And I can go through it more, but that's the short version.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to be on this committee floor. Thank you.